Well, good morning, Tava Baird.
Good morning, deep voiced Jennifer Taylor. I am also similarly deep voiced. Do not adjust your car stereo. It's not you, it's us.
It will not improve.
Hey, everybody. Will not improve. As a matter of fact, our voices will probably disintegrate more as we continue. And yeah, yeah, I think we sound sexy.
I used to love it when my voice would get like this. It was like, oh, I wish I sounded like this all the time.
We're not talking to Samael today. Today, I'm going to channel Kathleen Turner. I don't, Kathleen Turner may still be with us. So perhaps I can just bring her voice in this direction.
There you
Anyhow, Jen and I are going to talk about deep voices today and why we have them. Jen, are you going to be able to sing with that voice?
Archangel Michael assured me that I would. I was like, can you see or somehow understand what's happening in my body? And can you work with this? Can you make this sing? And I felt like the answer was very much yes. So I'm just another trust fall. I trust you. We'll see what comes out.
Everybody, if you can send a little bit of good energy to Jen's voice right now. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck listening to me for the rest of the episode. And ain't nobody wants that. So, yeah.
I am just inviting Archangel Michael and Gabriel to sing with me and to work with what we have to work with and to bring through exactly the energies and the messages and the preparation that we all need in order to receive exactly what is in our highest good today.
Samael now just told me to stop and he wasn't going to keep going. It's
Oh,
I guess
wow.
per, perhaps he's trying not to get us into another welcome to eating the elements. This will be 3 episodes. Jen, before we get rolling on this, though, would you mind if I mentioned 2 little upcoming classes that I have that are to benefit a historic site
Oh,
for
no. Yeah,
people?
go right
Would that be all
ahead.
right with you?
Yeah, I would love
All
that.
right. So guys, there is in Martinsburg, West Virginia, Green Hill Cemetery. It is nearly 17 acres big. It is a gorgeous Victorian cemetery. I think I have mentioned it on the podcast before. There is a small group of people trying valiantly to maintain it and restore it. And let's just say they're with the resources that they have, the odds are stacked against them. So I love to do 2 things: fundraise to help historic sites and teach witchcraft. And so in June, which we are now already in, I have 2 classes that are being held inside the absolutely beautiful mausoleum in the cemetery. On June 14th, between 12 and 2, we are holding a tea leaf reading class inside the mausoleum. We will also be doing jar scrying. There's no electricity in there, so we are going candlelight and lantern folks. So if you wanted to learn to read tea leaves and get your Victorian on inside a mausoleum at the center of a literal city of the dead, I would be super excited to have you join. We already have people signed up because it's the first class I've ever done there. We are doing a special where if you sign up for, it's a $50 donation to all of the money goes to the cemetery. If you sign up for the $50 class, you get to bring a friend for free. So that's like 25 bucks each. So the next time your friend wants to go to the movies or the mall, be like, dude, I'm going to take you to a tea leaf reading and jar scrying class inside a mausoleum at the center of a Victorian cemetery and watch them try to top that. If you'd like to sign up, just go under events and classes on tavabaird.com. Uh, the next weekend after that, June 21st, the exact same location, from 12 to 2:30, I am doing a bone casting class. And I've met a lot of you at different events where you've come in for a bone reading with me and you've gone, oh, I really want to take a class on this. We're doing one inside the mausoleum. Singing to the Bones is coming to Martinsburg. So again, same way to sign up for that. 100% of the funds go back to the cemetery. And, you can help a historic site, learn witchcraft, and have a good time all at the same time. Again, tavabear.com, under events and classes. Just look for the ones that say Green Hill Cemetery benefit. Thanks, Jen, for letting me get my little plug in there.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's wonderful. It is such a wonderful cause and such incredible teaching from you that, yeah, it is a win win all the way around.
So, good fun thing to do at the beginning of your summer. Do you want me to tell you what Samael said first, or do you want to tell why you have a deep voice this morning?
Well, since you know what he said, you can let me know which you think will be better.
Why don't we each tell why we sound the way we sound, and then I'll let him, because I think he was commenting partly on us. So, I think it might flow nicely that way.
Okay. Um, so I have been gone for the last 4 days and was at an amazing family wedding that was fantastic because we were able to see family from all over the country that we very rarely get to see and spend really quality, just amazing time. And the whole thing was fantastic. And I have been around more in a really tight, concentrated area than I've been around in I guess 3 straight days in a row or 4 straight days in a row, much more than I normally ever am. I am really not around groups of people all that often. And these were all really pretty close groups of people too, which was fantastic. Lots of hugs and lots of really wonderful conversations. And then the last day of which was the wedding, which had an incredible band. And I mean, one of the best bands. I absolutely, I think the best wedding band I've ever seen in my life. It had to be like a 10-piece band. They were
Oh my
unbelievable.
gosh.
And there was not a break. Literally, the last note of one song was the beginning note of another one. And it just went on and on from about 7 o'clock, 7 or 8 o'clock until like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
unbelievable. And I wore my big old hiking boots with my fancy black tie dress.
No,
And I
Jen.
was able to stand and walk because of it. And I danced like I have not danced in years. And I sang at the top of my lungs. And in order to hear each other, we had to also yell at the top of our lungs to be able to have conversations. I was telling my dad yesterday, I cannot walk for dancing and I cannot speak for singing at the top of my lungs. And I don't regret a moment of it. But I came home and there was a good 9-hour drive on the way back. And so I came home really worn out and really exhausted with no voice and a sore throat and all sorts of things that I was thinking, oh, I don't know. Like, if I didn't know that I'd been just screaming for hours and hours on end, then I would think I am definitely sick, like, felt completely sick and really dragged through the last 24 hours. And this morning I was like, all right, I'm not going to be able to podcast. There's no way. I can't speak. My throat hurt and I just felt really sick. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, and I could hear Michael sword really loudly in my ears. And I just kept thinking, I think there's more to this. I don't think that I just picked up something. Everybody seemed like incredibly healthy. Like, I didn't spot a single person that seemed even remotely under the weather. Everybody else in my family as well. And it just felt like something else was going on. And I was sitting there and I was giving myself Reiki and I was asking Michael for guidance. And I had this image of talking to two different people, both of whom were self-proclaimed germaphobes and were really terrified of getting sick at the wedding. And I realized that every time I spoke with them, I had this instant fear that I was going to be the person getting them sick. It was like, oh my gosh, here you're talking to me, you're hugging me or whatever, and you're terrified of getting sick and you don't want to get sick and I don't want to be able getting you sick. I was totally fine. I had no symptoms. I was not in any way like I was the picture of health. And but I think I was tapping into that moment. I think their fear was so strong that I think I was tapping into that fear of getting sick, which then I think was pulling in these energies that were in alignment with that. And then there's very little sleep and lots of activity and lots of driving. But I was sitting there and I was like, I think I need to get rid of this. I think he's showing me these specific things in addition to just being around what I'm guessing was maybe a couple hundred people for hours and hours and lots of emotion. I was like, I'm sure I've probably picked up a bunch of stuff that wasn't mine. And being in a city, we were up around New York City and just so many more energies that I'm used to. And so I did a spirit release on myself and I was specifically addressing thought forms that I had picked up and all different forms of energy that I may have collected or tapped into, and specifically being like, okay, these are the ones that need to be moved out, and doing those processes and inviting Michael and White Eagle and to help me to do that. And I started feeling better right away. And I'd used my pendulum with Michael and was like, okay, is it really in my best interest? Because I was trying to decide with doing the podcast today, am I not listening to my body and not honoring myself by pushing through? Or is there some reason why I'm supposed to be doing this? And I was so completely shocked for the pendulum to be like, yes, you need to do the podcast today. Yes, it's in your highest good. And I was thinking, okay, I fully expected it to say, no, like, of course not. Of course, that's not like you need to just go home and get in bed and be in bed all day, which is totally the only thing that I felt like I was capable of doing. But it read, yes, you need to do this. And so I started thinking, okay, I'm going to start feeling better. I'm going to just keep energetically clearing myself and trying to come back to myself. And so I drove my daughter to school, and all the way there, I was thinking, all right, I'm going to have to cancel though. I don't think I can. And then I started feeling better and better. And I was actually listening to another podcast in the car, and the person was talking about calling your energy back and pulling your energy back and into yourself, and was also talking about how to breathe in your channel. And so, like, breathing in from the top of your head using big belly breaths, not your chest, not filling your lungs, but filling your belly, and breathing down and through your central channel, down into your belly, and then down out through your perineum and deep into the ground. And then again with belly breaths, bringing that energy up through your perineum, filling your belly, and then sending it up through your central channel. And so I started doing that over and over, and I started feeling better and better. I had more energy. I started feeling more like myself. And especially the more I started calling my energy back to myself. And what I tend to say is that I call back to myself all of my energy that I have given away or that has been taken from me intentionally or unintentionally, cleansed and cleared and filled with light. And then I actually added to that, I asked that basically all of the space that's left behind from that, from me pulling my energy back from people, that space be filled with divine light. So I'm taking back what's mine, whether you've taken it or I've given it to you or it was accidental or whatever it is, from all the places. And then I know it's being refilled with something that's really much better than my energy. And it's all coming back to me, cleansed and cleared and filled with light. And I started feeling more and more like myself again. It was really amazing. And by the time I got home, I was like, I can do this. Like, not only can I do this, but I feel up to it. And I know that podcasting is actually going to be the best thing for me. I'm going to tap back in. I'm going to get to connect with Tava and Samael and Michael, and I'm just going to put myself in that space, and that's what I need. And I cannot tell you how downright miraculous it was, because I was also thinking I had this intense brain fog. Like, I couldn't seem to form a coherent sentence this morning. I just couldn't. Last night, same thing. I was trying to talk to my husband, and I'm like, this is nuts. I can't seem to put anything together. When I think about it, it really was intense brain fog. And all of that cleared. I was thinking, even if my voice would do a podcast, I can't make any sense. Like, I can't talk about regular stuff. And all of a sudden, everything was coming back to me. And even my voice, like, this is incredible that I'm able to even talk the way that I am right now. So I can't wait to hear what Samael has to say about all that.
It's funny because we both got on with these sort of deep, rough voices. I had a spectacular weekend as well, but mine was in a different location. I was vending for the first time ever at the Virginia Renaissance Fair this weekend, which was beautifully run. The people were incredible, but it was crowds for 2 days. And I had brought a ton of bone casting sets and bone casting books and stuff. I've been getting way back into bone casting lately, which is Azrael's fault, but that's probably something for another point in another podcast. I used to read bones all the time, and I usually read them for people who were very close to me. And then, of course, I've been teaching, I wrote the Singing to the Bones book, and I've been teaching for years. And I decided to bust open one of the bone kits and put down one of the mats in front of me. And even though it wasn't my personal set, when the fair first opened, it takes a little while for people to walk around and look at everything. They all do their first pass of, I'm going to go see all 100 vendors and then I'm going to go back and buy what I want, right? So that first hours are slow. You have a lot of people wandering in and saying hi, but there's not a lot of like activity where you're making change and wrapping things up and stuff. And then boom, later on, they all come back before they go to get in their cars. I did a reading for my friends that vend with me, and I had never done a bone reading for either of them. And they both went, ooh, that was very accurate. And I could feel that I was really open. I have not done bone reading for a lot of people since I've been able to start hearing spirits. And all of a sudden, my brain was expanding really quickly. And people started wandering into the tent and would ask what I was doing. And I would say, "Oh, I can show you how to do this. Would you like a quick reading? Walk around the side of the tent, come back and stand by me, and I'll show you how I cast." And I would do a little lesson that would eventually turn into a reading. And now I'm just reading for strangers. I had done some of this at World of Fae a couple weekends before, but only a couple of them. This time it was so busy that I was just doing one bone reading after another. And I was disassociating hardcore. And I started thinking, I got to stop. I am picking up way more vibes than I used to. And then this wonderful young woman came in and she said, I really want a reading. And she had a friend of hers with her. And I said, come on around. So she came around and I was explaining how bone reading worked. And I asked her to pick out a bone to represent if there was someone in her reading. And she said, does it have to be a person? And I said, what do you mean? Is it like a cat? And she said, could it be an entity? And I went, oh, here we go. So I went, sure. And she didn't tell me what she was asking me um, before we cast. And we cast the bones, and I look and I can see right away that someone is not in their body. And I looked at her and she said, there's some sort of spirit that's been following me around. My friends and I have been trying to get rid of it. Is it gone? And I mean, I looked down at the bones and I was like, not only is it not gone, it's someone you know. And we end up having this whole conversation where through the bone reading, we were able to figure out exactly who it was. Like I was able to say, this person died suddenly. We're very close to you. They have a very protective feeling towards you. They feel terrible that they left you behind without any warning. They are trying to communicate with you. And that not only did she have one spirit around, she had multiple spirits. So after we had the reading, she walked away for a little bit and then came back to me. And while she was gone, I could hear the spirit now standing there trying to talk to me, wanting me to give her a message that was really urgent. And I'm like, I don't have any protection on. I need like a spiritual condom, right? I didn't have my blue bag on. It was like, it was out in the Jeep. I didn't have any stones on that were warding. I didn't have my oils. I had sunscreen and a sandwich, and that was about it. And now I have this, he was very lovely, but I have this very insistent, very um, agitated and wanting me to talk to her um, entity in my tent at the Virginia Ren Fair. And it all worked out. I got the message. I gave it to her. I was lucky enough to be vending right next to an incredible young man from Connecticut who sold stones and crystals. And it was funny. He came over to me and he's like, I'm hearing you give all these messages to people and they're all walking out of your tent. Like people were just walking out of the tent, shell shocked. I used to be, I think, pretty good at bone reading. Now that Azrael is around, this has just heightened. Like it's gone way big. And I did not realize how much it was, where people kept leaving the tent after I did readings. And Kathy, who I vend with, kept saying, oh my God, did you see their faces? How are you doing that? And I'm like, it's not me. It's not me. I'm just letting it come through. And they've got things to say. But the gentleman next to me brought a stone pendant over and he's like, do you need something to open up your third eye? You're doing a lot of readings. And I'm like, no, I need something to close it. Like I am vibing so high over here that my vision is swimming. So I have a nice pendant now to balance that out. So this whole thing about calling your energy back, I ended up with no voice after talking to people so much for 2 days. I'm sunburned. I didn't sleep super well. And I got up this morning and went, "Oh, I don't know that I can do the podcast. I don't know how I'm going to sound. I don't, and she just got back from the wedding. I went in and I was running late. I'm dyeing fabric in my kitchen and I hadn't taken a shower yet. And I'm running around. I'm trying to unload the trailer from the weekend. And I was like, I should probably just cancel. And Samael, says to me, um, go to the temple of song, Umshala. You need it. And I'm like, Jen's the temple of song. Like that, wherever she is where the temple of song is, right? We've talked about this in the power of story, that you can create a sacred space that isn't on this physical plane. And I started thinking about all the number of times that you have sung, and then we walk in to this, and it's basically its own place of healing now. When you sing and I walk in, that's how the door opens. And when you sing at the end, that's the end of the ritual, and that's when I walk out. And he was telling me that what I needed most today was to get my hiney into the temple of song. I needed to come on and get balanced out. And so hearing you sing just now, when I was like, oh no, can you sing? My brain's going, please be able to sing. Please be able to sing.
Yeah, mine
So,
too.
yeah. So this calling your energy back and all of this is very much on my mind. Here is what Samael had to say. Um, you have calmed Umshala, and that is good. You have been vibrating at a high frequency as of late, as of your late. So many messages, so many energies coming through. Those around you are starting to recognize that I am in their midst, and they begin to connect and move faster too. If I may do a little aside here, the number of people who rolled into my booth like they were looking for me this weekend, I the number Lilith paintings, Samael paintings, all those prints, the book of Samael was just flying out the door. And they walked in and were like, hi, I'm a Lilith person. Hi, like, and they would just grab it. And I was like, what is going on? I really think that this is true now, that I'm starting to walk around and people are starting to sense him near me, and they're all wanting to come talk about him or entities that are adjacent to him. Um, and so they recognize that I am in their midst, and they begin to connect and move faster too. So then here goes their vibrations, right? He says, there is a possibility of becoming an addict to the rush of becoming, to race into the larger realm, eyes wide, arms outstretched to embrace it all. Careful, Umshala, careful, singer, lest it knock you to the ground. The energies and entities you now encounter see much more of you than humans can. Your past, in many cases, your hidden places, giftings yet to be revealed, rainbows of color on your skin. Among them, you will be but a child. In your eagerness to embrace, you may reach out towards the wrong hand. Allow me to advise, but discuss this first.
Wow. I'm going to need to hear that one more time before I can discuss it.
All
I'm
right,
going, whoa, okay.
so here we go. You have calmed Umshala, and that is good. You have been vibrating at a high frequency as of late, as of your late. So many messages, so many energies coming through. Those around you are starting to recognize that I am in their midst. They begin to connect and move faster too. There is a possibility of becoming an addict to the rush of becoming, to race into the larger realm, eyes wide, arms outstretched to embrace it all. Careful, Umshala, careful, singer, lest it knock you to the ground. The energies and entities you now encounter see much more of you than humans can. Your past, in many cases, your hidden places, giftings yet to be revealed, rainbows of color on your skin. Among them, you will be but a child. In your eagerness to embrace, you may reach out towards the wrong hand. Allow me to advise. Discuss this first.
Wow. So, to make sure that I'm understanding him correctly before we discuss it and head off in the wrong direction, it sounds like, and I definitely get the eagerness the of becoming, and the, just running off, eyes wide, arms open. And I feel like the night that he was talking about Gabriel, or that there was a new guide coming, and we're sitting in bed. I mean, it's like 9 o'clock, and we're talking to you, and you're giving this message, and I'm like, why not do it right now? And I'm like, okay, all right, Michael, let's go. And he takes me in the other room, and I meet Gabriel and everything. And I remember you saying, wait a minute, how did she jump to the front of the line? Now all of a sudden she knows who her guide is, and she's already doing this. And he said she ran out to meet him. And I remember, and I was thinking, I ran, like, I was so excited that there was a new guide and that Michael was bringing someone else in to meet and to work with me, that 9 o'clock at night, when I should have been going to bed, I ran out to meet him. I was so excited. And I think even in the last podcast, we talked about that rush and excitement of living in that expanded place too much and not being in our
Yes.
bodies. So I'm guessing that's what he's talking about. But then all of these entities around us see a lot more of us than we do. Like, they see our past and our woundings, and our also all these gifts that we have, and then ones that we have yet to discover. And they are eager to work with us. Like, they're excited about it. They see all of this. They see all this potential, and they want to be a part of it. But they're not all necessarily the ones that we're meant to be working with or communicating with.
I think
Yeah.
you've got this right. Like when he was talking about this, the feeling that I had coming from him is not that there were someone necessarily out to do us harm, but it's suddenly the blinders are off and you start to be able to see and hear and feel things that you never could before. And every time you keep thinking, is this really happening? You just keep getting confirmation. I was sitting in that tent, and this is what it reminded me of on Sunday. This young man and his two friends came in, and he said, I would like a reading. And I said, great. I don't charge anything for them. I do them. And then a lot of times people get excited and they take a bone kit home, and I want to keep bone casting going. So I'm excited about that. But he came in and he didn't even want to tell me his name. And I did the reading, and he looked like he was going to fall over. And so when he left, he was like, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. I don't know how you knew that. And I'm like, I didn't know it. And so, and this was happening over and over and over. But what started to happen is I was disassociating, but I was so addicted to the feeling of, oh my gosh, I feel like I totally stepped up multiple levels in my understanding of how to deliver the message. That even though I was disassociating and I probably needed to stop reading and ground myself, have a frickin' sandwich and a bunch of water and take a break. I was like, I can see and hear things. And then that woman walked into my tent where I was having an entity talk to me. And that was the point where I was like, I have run into the room too fast. It was like your parents would have a party when you were a kid and you were upstairs with the little plate of a little bit of everything that was at the party watching TV. And then sometimes they would bring you down right before you went to bed to say goodnight to everybody. You would run into this room and it would be all these strangers having a great time. And they would all be like, "Oh, cute child in her pajamas." And suddenly you were the center of attention. And that raised your energy up even more. And you were hugging people you didn't know. And it was overwhelming. That's that same feeling that I was getting doing these readings that I should have been pacing myself, and I wasn't because I was the rush of, oh my God, what is happening was so intense. And and I remember I got in the car to leave Sunday night. And as I was driving home, I was just my brain was fried. And I said, Samael, I need like 2 days off. I just, please don't wake me up and show me any portals tonight. Please don't. So I think he's cautioning us that there are sensible pathways where we are going to be able to digest this. But these rooms are full of entities that don't have a body like ours right now. And so it's like, here comes the little human. But in some cases, it's also like, here comes the little human who can deliver the message I want to deliver. And we're going to get overwhelmed if we don't slow or roll a little bit at times. So I absolutely think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. And I know we've both had experiences over the last month of an increase in the number of people seeking us out and their
Yep.
level of excitement. And it's interesting because one of the things that I had written down was that feeling of intensity and insistence and excitement that you tend to feel from a disembodied entity, like a spirit, like somebody who's passed on, and they recognize that you can and are likely willing to pass on a message to a loved one. And there is this intensity that comes with it that is really, really palpable. And this may be a conversation for another time, but I'm making a parallel between that because I'm feeling that it's like they're so excited. They're like, oh my gosh, I think you can see me. I think you could hear me. I think I could get through to you. And then the intensity of their energy coming through feels really overwhelming. And I've had that happen once with someone whose one had passed, and this was really early in my journey, and I didn't think I was capable of really hearing or seeing anything, but I could feel his energy, and it had this just intensity, this impatience, this excitement to it. And there were a couple other people in a Reiki share that had experienced him as well, and had all said the same thing. It was like, yeah, basically you are not going to rest until you deliver this message. Like that sense of he's just not going to let you alone. And more now we're starting to get that to some extent from people who are embodied as well. That sense of
Yeah.
there's an energy that's coming through you, and there's this energy that's coming through us that people are picking up on some level and are drawn to, and the excitement of the idea of you have this next piece of the puzzle for me. And their intensity and excitement can be also, it can feel very similar, this kind of overwhelming force coming at you. And then when you add all the other sorts of aspects of the divine, it sounds like we've been getting the attention of and catching the eye of, that have also been coming in, and that has been overwhelming too. It's really interesting. It's like the embodied humans, disembodied humans, and even other aspects of the divine, other types of guides and things that are all suddenly it's like everybody suddenly turned and is looking at us and trying to figure out how to navigate that a lot. And I'm very grateful to have Samael advising us in this category.
We talk a lot about being open and letting messages come through. It feels a little bit like we're hallways right now, where we have entities that are disembodied walking through, reaching out towards and to people who are embodied but are often very sensitive to those energies. And they're both walking through us to find each other. But meanwhile, we're the hallway. Certain times that we got to stop and vacuum ourselves and put a fresh coat of
There you
paint
go.
on the walls. And so the first thing I want to do is apologize to people. We have seen a huge jump in the number of people reaching out to us recently. And a huge number of you are super gifted and very psychic, which means we are getting intense energy from both sides, from the embodied and the disembodied. And we're having to learn how to regulate ourselves a little bit so that we can go on being the hallway. So I apologize to anybody that I owe an email or who listens. I know we have a lot of these extremely gifted people who listen to this podcast. Now, if I owe you an email, if it's taking me a few extra days to get back to you, it's just that you are so freaking talented that I am having to regulate my human body to be able to handle it because of the communications that are coming through from both sides. This situation reminds me of something that I wrote in one of my novels a couple of years ago, and I didn't realize what I was writing at the time, but now I'm like, oh, I get that. One of my main characters is half human and half fae. And I'm not going to say the name out loud. There are a lot of you who got both the podcast card and bought the first book in the series this weekend, and I do not want to ruin it for you. So I will not say a name. But there is a situation, I think it's in Deck of Crows, where the fae energy that he has is being magnified. And this is set in, 1746. So he's riding into this town. There's something about that Fey energy that when it hits a certain level, people will all turn towards him. Like he can't go anywhere without being noticed because it makes everybody turn and look at him. And he's a wanted person. So having everybody notice he's in their environment is not a good thing. There's a scene where he and his traveling companions ride into a particular town trying to find an inn for the night because it's raining, and as they're riding through the crowded streets of this town, the crowds of people will all just stop and turn their bodies to look at him, at like sunflowers turning their heads to follow the sun, and he doesn't know what to do about it. And that's kind of this feeling that I have now where I'm going into places, and there are places I used to be able to walk and nobody would notice I was around. I was trying hard just to get my books out there, just trying to be like, hey, a little bit of interest in this direction. Now, suddenly, because Samael is such a huge presence in my daily life, it's like there's this adjustment where people are sensing that he's there and turning in my direction. And I guess I didn't expect that to happen. So now it's like, oh, what do we do about this? And for our listeners, a lot of you, we know because we hear from you. And by the way, gosh, we love it when we hear from you. Please do not take our discussion today to mean, oh no, I need to leave them alone because they're tired. No, no, that's not what it is. We're learning to balance our energies, which means we need healers in our life more than anything. Some of you guys are so good at being like, did you drink? Did you eat? Did you ground whenever you see me? And I cannot tell you how grateful I am for that. Um, but this is probably happening to you too, where you go places and there are people there that can sense the healing energy that flows through you, and they just start to turn. And before you know it, you need to keep your body in balance, but you're bringing through stuff that doesn't have a body. It's a challenge. And so I'm sure there are probably lots of people listening to this who have this same experience that we're having.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you said that because I'd actually made a note to make sure that I said something about, yeah, please don't misinterpret this as we don't want you to stop. It is a dream come true to have all of you reaching out to us and sharing your stories and sharing your experiences and wanting to connect. Like that is a wonderful thing. This is what we're here for. It's just that this is the next step in our lesson because this is what we're here for and we're stepping forward and doing it. There's always another lesson. There's always another thing to figure out, and this is just where we're coming into of how, all right, well, how do we balance this? And we get to share it with you as we learn it. So
Yes.
all of that is good. So yes, please continue reaching out because we absolutely love it. What this is all about is creating community and support. And
Yeah.
and yeah, like you said, it's as healers in whatever capacity that is, whether it's in your accounting firm or wherever you are a divine being. You are bringing through your gifts. And the more you do that, the more people can sense that. And that may be people embodied and people, not embodied. And so I imagine all of these things will still be really helpful for you to consider as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because of you all and how incredibly wonderful and supportive you are of us, we are getting to do our life's work here. And our life's work is to help bring and coordinate and direct energies and messages for the work that you guys are doing. We're the cellular network right now. Half the time, Samuel doesn't want to talk to me. He wants to talk to you guys, right? That's why we're doing this. Is he wants to get messages and directives passed on to you because you all are out in your communities healing and raising children and organizing and building communities and building families. And that is all incredibly divine work. You all have unique giftings and talents. And what I really feel Samael is doing with me is I'm the glorified secretary. I'm the person that's supposed to be making the phone call to you and going, hey, I've got a message for you. Take a look in this direction. At the Ren Fair this weekend, this girl who was 10 years old came up with her mom and her younger sister and wanted a reading. And so I looked at the mom and I said, and she said, "Oh yeah, go right ahead. We're all into this. It's totally fine." So I did a reading for this 10-year-old. But the whole time I'm doing the reading for the 10-year-old, and it was a wonderful reading. In my head, that younger sister who's standing there kind of behind mom, it's going, her gift, she's the historian, she's the keeper of stories. She writes. And so I finished the reading for the 10-year-old and I looked up at the younger daughter and I said, I have a message for you too. You're the one in your family that's supposed to keep the stories. You're the one that's going to hold the history. If you haven't started learning about your family tree, I highly suggest you start to do so. And the mom said, oh my God, she's the writer in the family. I was doing a reading for one sister, and so the message that was coming through was tell this child he has a gift in this area. Let her know right now, right? And so, like I said, if I'm the cellular network, my job right now is to try to figure out how to shore up the wires and make sure that all of the receivers are in the right place and upgrade my entire network so that I can help get these things out to you guys. And I think some of these things, the same lessons that I'm going through as I'm building up and shoring up things, are useful to all of you guys who are out there doing your work.
Yeah, and I think like the cellular network, or when you were talking about that, I was thinking about um, like the electrical grid. It's like all of a sudden
Yes.
there are lots more peoples and energies like plugging in their devices and things into the grid. And it's like, okay, wait a minute, we've got to slow down the flow of things or figure out what we need to cut off so that we don't have a blackout. So everything doesn't go down. Wait a minute, take a pause, build some extra networks, build some more grids, make sure that we have the energy that we can bring it through without getting fried ourselves by bringing in. And it's interesting because it's on both ends, not opening ourselves to channel and stuff for a really long period of time where we get fried by this really intense, really expanded energy coming through ours. It's like, that we're not using old wiring to bring through this like massive sort of signal. And then also the output, like having to regulate the output from that of how much can we send out, burning ourselves out and short circuiting our own wiring as well.
Yeah. I'm very curious about the actual physical things we can do in a body that Samael alluded to with the allow me to advise.
Yeah,
Would you be up for? I know I ask you to sing like every freaking five
of
minutes,
course.
But if you don't mind, I would love to get some of those details down so that we can put them into practice and our listeners can put them into practice. And that, so like exactly, we don't want to have an energetic blackout, guys. We'll see what he has to say. Hopefully, he's going to tell us some actual things that we can start to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I was thinking, I was like, I wonder if we've processed enough for him to tell us more. So, yes, absolutely. I will sing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. All right. Boy, that was weird.
Whoa. Feel like that's the bell calling me to the temple,
There you go. Oh, that was
the
so
temple of
strange.
song.
I kept going. I really like, do I really have to go ding dong? I kept fighting it. And I just told myself, all right, I can always just edit this out. If this is too weird, we can just edit this out and I'll put something else. But it was so clear. I was like, fine, okay, I will just ding dong.
As long as you don't ding dong the witch is dead, I'm good.
Yeah, that I did not have to fight back. That did not come out. So
All right. Here we go. So the last thing that he said was, allow me to advise, but discuss this. And now he says, gather the healers together and level your energies. Hear me. So I think he's wanting to say, this isn't just for the two of us. This is for all of the different people who listen to the podcast. Because you know what? You don't have to be at a Ren fair or a wedding to get overloaded with energies. You may be getting overloaded with energies in your workplace or sitting in your house. There's so many energies going on, especially if you're a person who is walking down a path and trying to attune yourself to the divine. There's so many questions and so many things coming. Oh, we've been recording a long time. Folks, we're going to go ahead and continue this discussion next week. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you then.
take really good care of yourselves this week. And we look forward to connecting with you again next week.